It is Super Tuesday in Hampton Roads. The polls are closed and the news team on your side is following the results of the 2016 presidential primary.
Our political expert Joel Rubin is here in the studio to break down those numbers.
And here's why your vote is so important tonight. Virginia is one of 13 states, including Alaska and American Samoa, going to the polls and caucusing tonight.
Hundreds of delegates are at stake and could help the candidates make some major decisions in the morning. Team coverage starts on the Republican side. Here's a look at the current standings in Virginia for the remaining candidates. Businessman Donald Trump, Florida Senator Marco Rubio, Texas Senator Ted Cruz, Ohio Governor John Kasich, and Dr. Ben Carson. It's official. Virginia Republicans have chosen Donald Trump as their pick for presidential candidate. He just addressed his supporters from his headquarters in Palm Beach, Florida.
The Virginia win was just a great win, because it's a place that is just spectacular and a place that we have big investments in.
Some of the folks who helped make that win possible have been watching the results in Virginia Beach. 10 on your side's Andy Fox is there with them. So Andy, what are they saying, and are they still around?
Well, no, they've all gone home. There was about 50 people here at Pembroke Pizza. They've gone home. It wasn't a big crowd, not like the thousands that turn out for the Trump rallies. But for this night, in this place, those 50 people, their guy won. There was pizza, beer, and a lot of Donald Trump at Pembroke Pizza, and even more cheer when Trump took Virginia. A diverse crowd, Latinos for Trump. Maria Sanchez, 93 years old.
I like to have immigrants come here with paper and job. No through the river or through the desert, legally.
Eli Valentine likes Trump's fiscal background.
I think with the state of our economy right now, with the $19 trillion deficit, it's time that we have somebody with real business sense.
Marcos Montes is fully on board.
He's not controlled by any super PACs, any lobbyists. He's self-funding his campaign, so that was one of the biggest factors why I'm supporting him today.
And to the Republican establishment, Trump organizer locally, Gary Byler, says,
rejuvenation, reformation. It is the beauty of the democratic process. But for those who want to hold on to the old establishment, watch out, because the tsunami is here, and it's hitting ground.
If Marco Rubio had any good news, he was the beneficiary of that establishment coming out against Trump, and that's Trump's challenge in the future, to unite the party if he is to be the man. In Virginia Beach, Andy Fox, 10 on your side.
And as you know tonight, Trump has fared well with Virginians. This in spite of the fact Republican Congressman Scott Ridgel sent a scathing letter denouncing the frontrunner. Ridgel, the soon-to-be retired representative of the 2nd District, asked voters to cast a ballot for anyone other than Trump. He went on to say letting Trump win the GOP nomination would be catastrophic. Ridgel represents Virginia Beach, Norfolk, parts of Hampton, Newport News, and the Eastern Shore. And here is what Trump went on to do in Ridgel's district, specifically in Virginia Beach, not having too much trouble here, getting an 8-point win over Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz. John Kasich getting 9% of the vote, in Ben Carson, Dr. Ben Carson, with 6%. And here's how the Republican vote stacked up in Newport News. Trump eking out a very tight win there over Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz with 14%.
Coming in third in the Commonwealth, but winning his home state of Texas, Ted Cruz. Republican candidates seem to agree with Ridgel. He says a Trump nomination would be a disaster for the country.
And after tonight, we have seen that our campaign is the only campaign that has beaten, that can beat, and that will beat Donald Trump.
Cruz also won Oklahoma. Ohio Governor John Kasich was in Northern Virginia today. The Republican candidate says he's not expecting to win voters in the Commonwealth, and he's already looking ahead to the next round of primaries set for Saturday.
We never thought that Super Tuesday was going to be some big deal. It's not in our plan. We'll pick up some delegates tonight, but we're heading north, and that's what we've always felt was our strength, was heading north. And I think at some point it's probably I think maybe at some point there'll be a moment in this campaign where people will be able to see what I have to offer instead of just yelling and screaming.
And that brings us to the Democrats tonight. Less than a minute after the polls closed in Virginia, officials called the win for former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
We have to make America whole. We have to fill in what's been hollowed out.
And here is the reason why that call came in so early. The results for both candidates in Virginia. Hillary Clinton beating Bernie Sanders almost 2-1. Let's take it out to 10 on your sides. Liz Palka. Liz, you're in Norfolk there where Clinton's campaign volunteers watched those results come in. I'm sure they were pretty happy.
Oh, Tom, we had some very happy Hillary Clinton supporters here at Guad's on Granby Street where they were holding a watch party. Some of them woke up this morning, went straight to vote, and then went straight to her campaign office in Norfolk to make calls on her behalf. Here is some of what they had to say tonight.
I knew we had it. We had it, right, guys? Yeah. We worked hard enough.
I think both the Clinton campaign as well as her supporters and Democrats, we don't take anything for granted. So we know that if she becomes the nominee, we have a lot of doors to knock on, a lot of phone calls to make, a lot of yard signs to put out, and we have to get our people out to vote.
About 25 people gathered here at Guad's to watch the results come in, many of them longtime supporters of Clinton. They told me they often hold phone banks at the Norfolk campaign office or even meet at restaurants to make calls on behalf of the Democratic frontrunner. They also wanted to see who won on the Republican side tonight with some.
Donald Trump, in a way, is the best thing that can happen to the Democratic Party because there's going to be so many people that are going to mobilize to make sure that he never becomes president.
All right, now to the candidate who wants to beat Hillary Clinton for the Democratic nomination, Bernie Sanders. The Vermont senator addressed his supporters shortly after the polls started closing.
That this campaign is not just about electing a president. It is about making a political revolution.
Erin Kelly joins us now from Sanders' campaign headquarters in Norfolk. Erin, what are his supporters saying?
Well, that office is now dark. We saw people leaving and removing items from the walls and the posters, campaign signs, but the crowd here earlier tonight was energetic despite the outcome. We also heard some people cheering after it was projected that Sanders had won in Oklahoma. Volunteers tell us that this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Have voted so strongly.
Supporters of Senator Bernie Sanders gathered around the television to listen to him speak after it was projected that he lost the primary in Virginia. About 30 to 40 people filled his campaign office off Little Creek Road in Norfolk.
I already knew it was going to be an uphill battle. They were expecting Hillary to win the South anyway, democratically, so this is not a shock, really.
Volunteers started the day early with literature drops, canvassing at polls and knocking on doors. Natasha Phillips was one of them.
When it comes to being consistent on things that matter to me, and I mean, even when it wasn't popular to be for some things, he was for it.
First-time voter Molly Rumble cast her ballot for Sanders in Virginia Beach.
I feel like Bernie Sanders is really in touch with the major, or with the populace in general, and I think his economic policy is something we should all take into consideration. So,
I'm so glad Super Tuesday is over. We can now concentrate on what really matters, which is building the coalition behind Bernie Sanders and making sure the entire country gets an opportunity to have a say, not just a few states.
And tonight at his victory speech in Vermont, Sanders told his supporters that he will win hundreds of delegates. Supporters here in Norfolk think he's positioned to do well moving forward. Live in Norfolk tonight, Erin Kelly, 10 on your side.
And now we'll put all those numbers we saw tonight into context.
Political expert Joel Rubin is here in the studio with us. So, Joel, first of all, why do you think this primary, Super Tuesday, turned out the way it did? And are you surprised at all?
I'm not surprised. I mean, Trump's been making progress ever since New Hampshire. He lost Iowa, won New Hampshire. He's been growing ever since. Everybody kind of predicted he would get 40% of the vote across Virginia, and he did. The polls were pretty good. I think Rubio did pretty well in Virginia, though. I mean, I think came within a few points of it. He'll pick up some delegates and maybe a little bit of momentum, but he needs to win some states.
I was going to say Rubio did well, but he has yet to win. Cruz won 2 states tonight, so who gets out?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think Rubio gets out until after Florida. In case Kasich isn't going to get out until after Ohio, and those are both on March 15th. So this thing's going to continue here for a while. But, I mean, I think a betting man would say that unless something catastrophic happens, that Donald Trump is on his road to the nomination. And so get ready for Clinton versus Trump. I know a lot of Americans don't want it, but I think we're going to see it.
What is the message you think Americans are sending just by showing what they're doing?
I think the message is really within the Republican Party. This is definitely a slap in the face to Republican Party politics as usual over the last number of election cycles. And so Donald Trump has definitely rewritten the rules. His supporters have said, yeah, we'll call ourselves Republicans, but we're not those Republicans. And those Republicans are now trying to figure out a way to get Donald Trump, keep him from getting that nomination. And I don't know exactly how that happens.
And the more outrageous things he says, the more support it seems he gets.
This is a bizarre year, Tom.
Stay tuned. Thank you, Joel. Remember, you can track the Super Tuesday results with our special election coverage on wavy.com. You can also see pictures from the polls today.